Good morning. It is Thursday morning, last live feed of the day, last live feed of the week. Used to be of the day. I used to do several a day. Don't do as many now as I used to do, but I didn't do yesterday. And so I want to talk briefly today about why I didn't do a live feed yesterday, because it's kind of important that you understand that. Not that you understand it, but it's important to the conversation that you know why I decided not to do a live feed yesterday. Because the reason behind that is valuable to all of us. All right. I talked on Tuesday about the funk that I was in on Monday. And so I had this slight funk on Monday, and it really bothered me, And so Tuesday, I talked about where that came from and why, and what to do about it. And I gave you 3 things to watch out for, and we talked about those 3 things. Yesterday, or on Tuesday evening, I had a very, very late night webinar. And after the webinar was over, I could not go to sleep. Just one of those very rare occasions. I don't have a sleep issue. I've slept very, very well, actually. But I had one of those evenings when I just could not go to sleep. And I didn't go to sleep until almost 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I start my day at 5. So 3 to 5 is a really, really skinny time frame. And I woke up at 5 o'clock and I was just too tired to get up. And it's doing this gentle rain. And a thunderstorm was going through, and there was this rumbling that was happening in the sky, and the rain was falling very gently on the roof and in the yard. And I got in a comfortable spot. Good morning, Mark. I got in a very comfortable spot in my front room, kicked back in my recliner, and listened to it rain. And I listened and listened to it rain. There's something about the sound of rain that is incredibly refreshing. It's rhythmic. It happens and goes up and down in the gentle thunder. There's really nothing like it. It is maybe one of the most incredible experiences that you can have, is just to listen to one of those soft thunder showers when they go through. And I decided, while I'm laying there doing that, I decided that what I was going to do was just continue. So I would fall asleep off and on through that time period, and just decided that that was time for me to sharpen the saw. Or my favorite phrase, and I've been using this one for a long time, closed for remodeling. So I used the little image yesterday in which I said, the bucket talks were closed for remodeling. Well, the whole point behind that is that sometimes you just need to take a break. And it was time for me to take a break. The easiest way to illustrate that and try to let people know what was happening was with the 2 hands and the water running into the 2 hands, because it's time for some refreshment to take place. It's time for some refreshing to happen. And sometimes, as selfish as it sounds, but sometimes what we have to do is we have to take time for ourselves. So that's what I did yesterday. Now, the point that I'm going to make today is that in order to do that, you have to protect your boundaries. It takes me nearly 3 hours to wrap up, to write what I want to write in the morning, and to wrap up the things that have happened over the course of the night. Because I do a lot of things in a lot of groups and provide a lot of support to a lot of groups. And I just got started to kind of do that. I got focused on my first project I was going to write, and I'll be sharing that with you next week. Normally do that on Wednesdays, but I'll be sharing that with you next week. And I just got started writing that, and I get a message, because I have to have Messenger on during that time period. As effective as of today, I don't have to have it on anymore. I'm going to shut it off. But I just got started, got focused on what I wanted to focus on, and Messenger just starts blowing up. And it was somebody who asked me a question, brand new. I don't know this person from the man in the moon. They ask a question, Now I tolerate that, even though I have more than 35,000 people who have access to me through that. I got to be careful about that. So that's going off, and it won't stop. And I said, I'm sorry. I've answered the question to the best of my ability. I don't provide legal advice. I'm not interested in legal advice. I have someone who I use if I have to go beyond what I know. And that's as far as I go. And this is my time that is for me to write. And I will address these things later, but not now. It doesn't stop. On and on and on and on. Now, in part, what I'm doing now is I'm kind of calling that person out, but I'm telling the bigger part of the story is that we have to make sure we don't allow those kinds of things to happen. And I finally decided, Eric, you're the ones responsible for this. You're going to have to take control of this situation. I said, this is my time to address my issues. And I got criticized for my attitude. Criticized for my attitude. Listen, sometimes the best thing you can do for other people is be selfish. That was not an easy lesson for me to learn. I was reminded of it this morning. Sometimes you need to be selfish. Sometimes you got to look out for you. The whole purpose behind Stephen Covey making the comment, sharpen the saw, was because sometimes you have to be focused on you and your own benefit and your own good. And I allowed myself to get in a situation where I wasn't doing that. And I set the boundaries, and I said, this is the boundaries. We're not going to go any further than this. And I got criticized for it. And I said, you've crossed that boundary. I'm not going here. And he said, well, good luck with your attitude. Well, it's not that I have an attitude. It's that I can't be bothered right now. And I decided what I needed to do was to be selfish. And somebody who can't respect the time, I spend about 15 hours a day. I spend about 15 hours a day helping other people. I said no to this one, and it wouldn't stop. So I had no other choice but to do what I had to do. All right. Now, that's not important. What's important is to remember that sometimes we have to be selfish in order for us to have anything left to give. I'm working on something that's going to be beneficial to a lot of people, and I don't need to be disturbed by that. I have all of these people and other groups that I've contacted with and are working them through issues that they have. And then this person decides to pop in with something, and I have to give that first attention. Isn't going to happen. We have to be a little selfish in order for us to have something that we can help somebody else with. Let me take a look at the comments, because I said let's talk about it today, because I do want to talk about it. I do think that it's important that we set those boundaries for ourselves and that we protect the boundaries. And the flip side of that is that as the person who sometimes gets that help, we also need to recognize that other people have boundaries and that we don't need to cross them. And so it's a partnership where we work together to try to accomplish the best. All right. The funny part of it is this person reached out to me because they wanted to co-collaborate. I will make that decision. And I just decided no. We have to make sure that that there is a co in the collaborate, which means that we have to respect boundaries, we have to respect times, we have to respect the things that other people consider to be valuable. When I was sales training, and Brandy's on, she'll remember this, when I was sales training, Mark's been through it, and others as well. I used to say this, that I had this value pyramid, and the value pyramid is you only talk to people who can tell you yes. You make sure that you give them value before you give them anything else, and then you make it really easy for them to tell you yes. The second piece of that puzzle is that you give them value before you give them anything else. My time is valuable. Your time is valuable. Let's find a mutual way to make that work. All right? We recognize that other people have value, and recognizing that value as their time, their property, their schedule, whatever it is, that's going to be helpful to everybody that's involved. And I had to decide I'm not going to sacrifice the benefit I had to a bunch because of somebody has decided that all of a sudden I need to focus all of my attention on him. And it doesn't happen. Not going to happen. Won't happen again. We have to be very, very careful. Mark says one issue that we have when we're working online is to think that it's 24/7 and we can forget to respect other people's times. Absolutely. That's one of the biggest issues. And let's create parameters so that we can, in fact, do what I did yesterday morning and say, okay, I have to stop. I'm just going to listen to the rain. I'm going to let my mind reset. I'm going to close for remodeling. The whole purpose of the remodeling is so that you might come back better equipped to handle the situation and circumstances that are around you. So any other questions or comments before we go? Because I just needed to get this off my chest because it was really interesting. I already decided what I was going to talk about today. And then all of a sudden this event takes place this morning, and it did become an event. This event takes place, which shows how important those boundaries are and that you make sure that you protect that time. All right. If nothing else, then I'm going to jump out of here and go back to what I was doing when I got interrupted. All right. Thank you. And the truth is, I love you and I care about your success and I care about the things that you do. It's really important to me. But if there's nothing left, I read an amazing book back in the 80s. I haven't seen it for a long time. It was called When Helping You Is Hurting Me. And sometimes giving another person your time and your attention can hurt you, and a lot of people suffer in the long run. Just remember that. I love you. I'll see you later.